be more than human.
Hello and welcome back to the channel. My name is J.R. Carroll. I am the author of the More Than Human novels, and today we are here to review Bride by Ali Hazelwood. Now, she is best known for her romance novels, especially The Love Hypothesis and Love Theoretically. Those are her two big books, but she has a ton. Very prolific, very successful. And before we jump into that, I just want to let you all know, make sure you like, subscribe, do all that good stuff so we can push this video out to more people. And if this is the kind of content that you like, these are the kind of books that you like, for as little as $1, you can control my TBR in my Patreon, which you can find in the description. Now let's jump into the review. Now this is the first book that I have ever read by her. I've seen this on a list of, big up and coming 2024 releases. I want to say I seen this back in like October of last year. And so I was like, oh, the cover looks interesting. That's what a lot of these, books that I'm not already in series, and I see the cover, I'm like, interesting. So let's look into it. And then I found out, well, she's a huge writer, huge author, and she's dipping her toes into the fantasy genre. Now, we start off, and I am a vampire author. I do a lot of stuff with vampires and creatures. So I was actually surprised about how she goes about her vampires. Now we follow Misery Lark is her name, and she is the daughter of a vampire councilman. Now these vampires are a little bit different. She's put her own spin on them. These vampires are not immortal. They are out in the open. Now they have, the trope of they don't like werewolves is here. They did have or have had like vampire werewolf wars in the past, and humans have kind of gotten in the middle of it. But the kind of, there's a big premise in this book where they have had a peace for over 100 years, I believe, 110 plus years, where vampires have been in a truce with the humans. Well, actually, they're collaborating with the humans, while there is kind of a truce-ish, a light truce with the werewolves. Now, what the vampires and the humans do is the vampires will send one of their like noble or very influential people's kids to a human home, and they will likewise send one back, and they do that at 8 years old for 10 years. And as you might expect, Misery was one of them, and she never fully like reintegrated back into the vampire world. She files her fangs down. Now in this world, vampires can feed off of people, but they really haven't since the advent of being able to get blood bags and all that stuff. They just don't do it. But humans still have a lot of misconceptions about vampires. They think vampires are like, killing everybody that they see and yada yada yada, and you get a little bit of that at the beginning. But what the vampire council, her and her father heading it up, is trying to do is basically use her again, but this time as a bride for the leader, the alpha of the Southwest werewolves, where this kind of takes place in the Southwest United States. And they're figuring, well, if she gets married to the alpha werewolf, there won't be any more, fighting, or maybe they can even work together. And she has a best friend who just so happens to like disappear right when all this is going on, or right when her father's trying to set her up with this. And she finds that in her friend's apartment there is his name, the alpha's name, on a piece of paper. So she's like, gotta figure out what's going on here, and that becomes one of the running things. She's trying to find her friend, and she does actually end up getting married to, the name is Lowe. He's the head honcho guy. And one of the things that this is a romance book, right? So it kind of sets up, well, it's just an arranged marriage, but they they start slowly liking each other. And I think I'm not a huge romance reader, but I feel like that's a very tropey thing that we've seen in movies, seen in television shows. Um, and so she's over there, she's the outsider, the outcast, but she starts liking some of these werewolves, and there's a little girl werewolf that she immediately falls head over heels for this little girl, and is friends with her and kind of protects her, and slowly but surely she gets closer to this alpha wolf. Now I really like how Ali has set this up with mostly biological and not a lot of magical things. And that's kind of, I mean, my vampires, there's a little bit of magic to it, but I really try to push in my stuff the biological aspect of vampires, and she does that quite well. I was interested that, yeah, now these vampires can go out in the sunlight, but it does hurt them, gives them really bad sunburns, and then it can kill them. But yeah, I was very intrigued that she doesn't use the immortality with vampires, and really nothing, none of the spooky lore that you get from vampires happens to be true, except for the thrall aspect, but that is also biological based. Now I don't want to do any major spoilers, but yeah, the story. One thing I will say is the story is not so heavy in this. It's a very easy to follow story. There are a couple twists that I won't get into here because the book just came out today. But yeah, you're not going to you're not gonna get, if you're used to fantasy and you're used to plot twists in fantasy, you're gonna see most, like 90% of everything that's coming. But it is fun. I will say this is definitely more of a for women. But I enjoyed it. I thought it was fun. I think overall for me it was just cool to see a different set of lore, an easier way of writing it. It's written, kind of urban fantasy because it's modern day, so easy to follow. You're not going to be stumped or wondering about anything. Nothing in here is going to be like, oh, what happened? Oh, who was doing what? Very concise writing. She doesn't try to trick you too much with her prose are very easy to follow. But let me know, is Bride on your radar, or was it on your radar? Did you know who Ali Hazelwood was? And throw down in the comments, are you reading any romantasy, as the new genre is really being called? But moreover, remember, be more than human.